So a couple weeks ago, I went on a week-long camping trip with my friends, and it was a blast. We did all sorts of random fun stuff, but once it was over, I couldn't help but wonder, was it possible to sustain that kind of excitement and that kind of joy in everyday life? And I'll get to how I discovered the answer. But I mean, we've all been there, right? You go on a vacation or you have an incredible weekend, but eventually it's time to go back to the daily grind. And that's when it hits you, the post-holiday blues, that feeling of returning to the boring routine. But it's just not fair. If your holidays make up about 10% of your total days in a year, which is already generous, but for the sake of the example, let's go with it. Is it fair that you only get to be happy 10% of the time? What if you could be happy the other 90% as well? I started reflecting on the past year, looking for those days that by all means should have been ordinary, but somehow they actually turned out to be pretty fun. And you know what? I did find some interesting outliers. One day in particular stands out. I was at college, just, a regular day, and I was eating with my friends at the cafeteria. The food was, it was okay, nothing special. But regardless of that, I had made up my mind that day, and I had decided that I would go up to the chef and I would tell her that the food was amazing. I wasn't expecting much, I just wanted to spread a little bit of happiness, and I was curious to see what would happen. So I did. I went up to her and I told her the food was amazing. And no matter how long I live for, I don't think I will ever forget that smile of hers. Her face completely lit up after I gave her the compliment. And it was such a simple act, just 3 or 4 words, but they were enough to create an amazing memory. This is a kind of small, seemingly insignificant type of actions that we can do just to add, a little bit of seasoning to our life. Bro, the seagull just interrupted my video. Come on, dude. Another day, I was headed to college again. I had taken a bus to Lisbon, but when I arrived, I found out that the subway was down due to an accident. So, I suddenly found myself 4 kilometers away from my university, and my class started in 15 minutes. So I essentially had 2 options. I could call an Uber, which I guess was an effective way to get to my destination, or I could just David Goggins that shit and run the 4 kilometers with a backpack strapped to my back. You already know which one I chose. I laced up my shoes and I started sprinting through the city. It was like 8 a.m. on a random Tuesday, and there I was just minding my business. Yes, people looked, I was a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but I look back at that day with a smile on my face, and it's a great memory that I have now. A friend of mine took the other option, he decided that he would take an Uber. So it kind of turned into an unofficial race to see who would get to campus first. Luckily, the traffic was so bad that day that I was able to win. Sure, I could have taken the Uber as well, but where's the fun in that? I probably wouldn't even remember that day if I had just taken an Uber. The more I analyzed these experiences, the more I realized that these school days always started with one action, one moment where I decided to step out of my comfort zone, even if it was only for just a couple of seconds. The brain naturally associates fun days with days that were outside of the ordinary. Luckily, it doesn't take much to make a day feel out of the ordinary. It can be as simple as waking up a bit earlier and going for a walk before you go to school or, go to your job. You'll find that this small change gives you a different perspective, making the whole day feel different, special even. You remember how it felt as a kid when you got to skip class because you went to a doctor's appointment? It's the same idea here, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a routine. In fact, I believe that a routine is essential. For me, a good day is one where I've done 3 things: worked out, and then made progress on my personal projects like this channel, and finally spend quality time with my family. That's it. Those three things are my markers for a good day. But every now and then I try to sprinkle a bit of fun and a bit of randomness into my everyday life. At the end of the day, there's this quote that I live by: work like you have 50 years left to live, but play like there's no tomorrow. The biggest regret most people have on their deathbeds is that they didn't make the most of it when it mattered. So, take your foot off the gas once in a while. Embrace each day for what it truly is: an opportunity to improve, but also to have fun. Alright, bro. I hope that helped. Thank you for sticking around. I love you. Catch you in the next one.